Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk a bit about signed copies and inscribed and signed copies of the Neal Pollack Anthology of American Literature. This is one of the very first standalone titles published by McSweeney's. They started with the Quarterly Concern in 1998. They released their first catalog in 2000 for titles to be released in 2001. McSweeney's Books Sampler Number 1 and the Neal Pollack Anthology of American Literature is featured in this catalog. Very small catalog. They just started with a small number of titles. And not just a small number of titles, but fairly small books also. Most of the books in the first catalog are actually fairly slim volumes. The only big book in the first catalog is Dave Eggers' own book, which was untitled at the time, but was released in 2002, You Shall Know Our Velocity. So they started with just a few books, and they started with small books. I believe this was the first standalone title printed. Not 100% sure. A lot of conflicting information out there about the release dates of books. It's hard to be certain. I think it was the first book, the first standalone title released. But if it wasn't, it was very close to it. Most people interested in McSweeney's are interested in the Quarterly Concern, and they collect the Quarterly Concern, and there's really very little interest in the bibliographic history of McSweeney's as a publishing house beyond the Quarterly Concern. Not a lot of people interested in the early titles before the McSweeney's tree exploded in growth and branches off into the McSweeney's Rectangulars and the Irregulars and the Collins and the McMullins and the Believer and the Believer Books and the Voice of Witness and all the different things they had now. At the time, they had the Quarterly Concern and some books. Neal Pollack did great inscriptions, and I really like his inscriptions, and it's fairly easy to collect because nobody cares about it. It's a good book on its own. It's an important book in McSweeney's history, but it's not worth much. A fine book with a fine jacket, inscribed and signed. I have 8 copies. I paid as little as $10 delivered. I paid as much as $35 delivered. And that $35 is an outlier. I bought it from a very high-end bookseller. Because she had one that I had to have. And that was discounted. I have paid delivered for 8 titles, fine books, fine jackets, signed or signed, inscribed and signed. I paid $10, $13, $13, $20, $23, $24.50, $29, and $35. fine, signed, or signed and inscribed. In other words, if the book isn't perfect and signed, it's worthless. I may be the market for inscribed copies. Haven't found one in a while. I suspect the various ones I was looking at and buying here and there, I suspect now that I wound up buying all of the available copies, all of the publicly available copies, because I haven't found one in a while. So I'm going to start with the ones that he just flat signed. When he flat signed, he typically just signed Neal Pollack. He did also occasionally sign Neal R. Pollack with the middle initial. My feeling, based on what I've seen available, is that the Neal R. Pollack is less common, that he most typically signed Neal Pollack. And what we have here on the title page is signed Neal Pollack. In the top corner, typical signature, typical location for signing. This is my only copy flat signed, just Neal Pollack. I have 2 copies that are signed with his middle initial. Neal R. Pollack. Not a lot of variance in his signatures. Typically signed in the same location. Very consistent in his signature. Very consistent in where he signed. I have another copy also with initial. And the reason I have 2 Neal R. Pollacks is they're a little less common. Because I have 2 of them, I'll probably go ahead and get a second flat sign, just Neal Pollack, just so I have 2 of each. The next one up, I'm not sure whether to call it signed exactly, or it's not inscribed, but it's not exactly just flat sign either. He had fun with this one. This is the one I paid $35 for, and at a very generous discount. And fortunately, I got a very generous discount because I probably couldn't have got it otherwise. On the title page, we have the Neal Pollack Anthology of American Literature by Neal Pollack, with an introduction by Neal Pollack. And on this title, this example, he has signed both of his credits. He signed Neal Pollack, and he signed Neal Pollack. I just love this. I've never seen another one. Great fun. Definitely had to have it. So it's flat signed, sort of, but it's in a class by itself. It's not inscribed, but you can't call it just signed. So it's a very cool copy. And the inscribed copies, he liked to have fun. On this one, Ed, it is the beating of my hideous heart. Neal Pollack. Again, now this is on the half title page. This is a full title page. This is on the half title page. Again, his usual location, top corner. The signed copies are typically signed on the title page, and the inscribed copies are typically signed on the half title page. There's more room for him to make an inscription on the half title page, so it makes perfect sense. I have never seen an inscribed copy that included his middle initial. All 4 of my inscribed copies are Neal Pollack. I have no Neal R. Pollack in inscribed copies. So this one is Ed. It is the beating of my hideous heart. Don't know what that means, but I like it. This one, also signed on the half title page because there's a little more room there. He could have inscribed on the title page if he wanted to. It's certainly at the top or bottom of the page. But typically he inscribed on the half title page. On this one, happy 18th birthday, Len. Don't smoke pot in the house. Now, I don't know how well he knew Len. He may not have known Len at all. He had a good time with his inscriptions, so I am always looking for them. Been a while since I found one. This one, Ron, I own you. And he's underlined own. I own you. And where he's inscribed to a person, it's common that he put a pair of dots, essentially a colon, right after the name. It's Ron colon. And on this one here, that one wasn't to a person. On this one here, it's Ed colon. Another point to watch for, although given the price of his books, it's not a signature anybody's going to fake, and not an inscription anybody's going to fake. And he did the same thing with this one. It's to Kate, and it's followed with a pair of dots. It's followed with a colon. And this one may be my favorite because it's complimentary, and yet it's sort of a slap in the face at the same time. Kate, no problem coming to Portland. It's lovely here, or at least interesting. I don't know how lovely he actually found Portland, but at least it was interesting. And so Neal Pollack had a fine time with his inscriptions. And people that got the books signed and got the books inscribed, looks like they tend to take care of them. Of the 8 books I have, 5 of them are in Brodart. Well, I think 2 are in Brodart and 3 are in another brand, Mylar, something like that. but five of the 8 are in Brodart protective plastic, which is a pretty high percentage for a fairly low value book. So people that got this book and got it signed or inscribed, they tended to take care of it. And there's no shortage of signed books out there. But the inscribed ones, they don't come around all that often. But all the ones I've seen inscribed have been fun, and I don't think I've let an inscribed one get by me. At least not since I picked up on just how much fun he tended to have with his inscriptions. And so there you go. That's the story on signed and inscribed and signed Neal Pollack's. One of the books was signed at Booksmith. Booksmith, they have a trading card thing. They do author trading cards. So if you're an author that's scheduled to sign at Booksmith, they print up little trading cards. And so I have, it came with the copy. Didn't buy it separately. It was ephemera included with the copy I bought. It included the Booksmith trading card, which shows a picture of Neal Pollack as a baby. And he did sign that card. I had that put away with my ephemera, so I'm not showing it here. But I do have the Booksmith card. And so that's a pretty cool little thing too. And also that it was also signed is pretty cool. And there you go. That's about all there is to say on the Neal Pollack Anthology of American Literature. Underappreciated, but it makes it affordable for me to snatch up inscribed copies when I see them. I haven't seen a boring one yet.